Let's talk about the 6 biggest immigration interview mistakes. Hi, I'm Jim Hacking, immigration lawyer practicing law throughout the United States out of our offices in St. Louis, San Diego, and Washington, D.C. You know, we do a lot of things here at the Old Hacking Immigration Law Firm. One of the things we do a lot of is sue USCIS, but another thing that we do a ton of are marriage-based green card cases. And so we've been seeing more and more mistakes that people make when they come to talk to us after an interview. And we've used these to develop our list of 6 interview mistakes that really hurt people's chances of getting their cases approved. I want to share those with you today in this video. So the first one is the couple is unprepared. Couples complain, and rightly so, that their green card interviews are taking way too long to be scheduled. These cases used to take 6 or 7 months to get an interview. Now they take 17, 18 months, something like that for an interview. So we get it. It's frustrating. And people call our show and call our office and they complain all the time. I get that. It's frustrating. It's maddening. It's saddening. I get it. I'm not saying that I don't. But what could you do instead of complaining? What could you do instead of saying, oh my God, I can't believe how long it's taking? What could we focus on the things that we can change, the things that are in our control? Well, you know what? That's getting prepared. That's making our case stronger. That's getting ready for the interview. Well, how do we do that, Jim? Well, here's what you do. That I-130 and the I-45, those have the questions that are going to be asked at your interview. Probably 85% of the questions that will be asked at your green card interview are contained on the pages of the I-130 and the 45 that you submitted. So what does that mean? Well, you should find someone who's not you or your spouse and have them sit with you once a week and read those questions to you out loud. You can even make a recording of it if you don't want to bother them too much. But having someone ask you those questions out loud and figuring out how you want to answer them would be really, really helpful. And the reason for that is that you get used to reading the questions on paper, but you need to get used to hearing the questions out loud. That's the thing. And of course, there'll be variations, and we're going to talk about some of those in this video in a little bit. But generally, you're going to find that most of the questions that you get asked, you could have prepared for. You could have read out loud and thought about your answers. So getting prepared and making sure that you are ready for your interview is how you should spend that time between when you file and when you get the interview. The second big mistake, not listening. Too many people go into their green card interview thinking that they are the star of the show. You're not the star of the show. We don't want you to be the star of the show. If you're the star of the show, that means you're talking too much and you're not listening. We need you to listen. And you need to listen to the questions that are asked and only answer the questions that are asked. The officer will run the show. They've done these interviews many, many times, hundreds of times. They know what they're doing. They know what information they need to approve the case. So let them run the show and just listen and listen carefully. And if you don't understand the question, ask them to repeat it so that you can listen some more. Listening is a huge skill at the immigration interview that too many people mess up. The third big mistake, talking too much. Too many people say way too much at their interviews. Let the officer ask the question, listen like I said in the previous step, and then give a short answer, hopefully a yes or a no. Ask yourself, can I answer this question with a yes or a no? If not, keep it very short. You're not there to tell your life story. You're not there to make jokes. You're just there to answer their questions, and we want you to answer their questions with as few words as possible. The fourth big mistake, being unorganized. Now, too many people go into that interview with a bag full of documents. We don't want you going in there with a bag full of documents. Listen, the officer has many, many interviews that day. You're not the only person that they have to talk to. They don't want to be wasting time waiting for you to get your documents or your act together. So here's the thing you need to know about the interview. There's going to be 3 basic stages of documents. The first stage is right when you get there, where they're going to ask for your identity documents. The second are documents related to the marriage, the I-130 documents. And the third are related to the admissibility of the immigrant. Is the immigrant eligible for a green card? So organize your documents in that way. Have all of the identity documents on top, then have whatever marital evidence you want to give, the supplemental evidence that shows that this marriage is valid, have that be second. And third, have the documents related to admissibility. That is, documents that might relate to any crimes or groups and memberships or anything like that. Anything that comes up on the 45, if you're bringing documents to support that the person is eligible for a green card, you need to bring that, and that should be in the third stack of documents that you bring to your interview. That's how you stay organized. The fifth big mistake, and that's where one of the couple members, one spouse talks over the other or tries to talk for the other. This is a big, big problem. You need to let the officer run the show. Like I said, you need to let the officer ask the question to whom they want to ask. Now, sometimes they might just throw out a general question and they don't care who answers. But if they're asking one specific person a specific question, they don't want the other person jumping in and trying to answer the questions for them. You don't want it to appear as if you're coaching. And we typically see this where the immigrant sort of knows the case backwards and forwards, and the U.S. citizen or green card holder spouse might not have dug as deep into all the details, and they might not be up to speed. So the immigrant feels the need to just jump in and answer and interrupt and answer and interrupt. Do not do this. This will really make the officer angry, and more importantly, it'll make them question whether this is a legit marriage. I always say that the most important person in the interview is actually the petitioner, the U.S. citizen or the green card holder who's filed the application. It's always about how they do. So you don't want to have the immigrant trying to coach them or guide them or answer for them. It really makes the officers mad, and it can really lead to a Stokes interview where they kick out the immigrant because they're so frustrated because the immigrant keeps trying to answer the questions. I've also seen it go the other way where it's the U.S. citizen who knows everything, and that's usually because the U.S. citizen is more savvy as to the way things work in the United States. This might be cases where there's a pretty severe English barrier. So obviously everything is graded and everything's a little bit different. I understand that. But for the most part, it's best to let one person answer the question and to listen to the question and not interrupt or answer for the other. That's why it's important to let the officer make clear who they're asking the question to and to give them time to fully ask the question before the right person answers. The sixth big mistake happens in some cases, not all cases, and that's where the people are not ready for a long interview. You should assume that you're going to be at immigration for 4 hours. Now, most interviews don't go 4 hours, but there is some waiting time, waiting to get into the interview. There is some time where the officer is shuffling around looking at papers, and I think they actually only schedule the interviews for about an hour or maybe even 45 minutes. But a small subset of cases do have situations where the interview goes much longer. You need to be ready for that. You need to be ready to sit there all day, and you need to focus. And it's tiring. It's really tiring. So you want to make sure that you had a good night's rest, and you want to be mentally steeled. You want to be mentally ready for a 4-hour interview. That way, if you get out after 2 hours, you're playing with house money. You won. You got out of there a whole lot quicker than stupid Jim said. You're going to be happier and more refreshed, and you're going to feel better. But you really got to go into it with the long haul attitude. It's not that this is an interruption to your life. This is the most important thing in your life. So you're in, you're ready to go. You're ready to answer. You're loving this. So as hard as they make it or as hard as they try to be, you're ready. You're ready to answer the question with a smile on your face. We hope you found these 6 tips helpful. These are based on mistakes we've seen immigrants make either during or after we hear about interviews. So if you have a case that you're thinking about working with an immigration lawyer, definitely give us a call, 314-961-8200. If you're looking for free information or to get answers to just general immigration questions, you can come on our Immigration Answers show, which we have 3 or 4 days a week, or you can just try searching on our YouTube channel where we have over 1,500 videos answering all kinds of immigration law-related questions. We also have a great Facebook group, which is another place where people exchange information about immigration. That's called Immigrant Home. We'd love to have you in that Facebook group. And then, of course, we have our YouTube channel that we update with new videos and where we go live 3 or 4 days a week on that Immigration Answer Show. We'd love to have you join us there. But if you have a case, if you're thinking about hiring an attorney, give us a call, 314-961-8200. Thanks so much, and have a great day.